estate agent, you never really know who you're dealing with. She could have been an actual billionaire. She could have been a scam artist, and I would never know the difference.
President Nixon doesn't believe we should play games with our national security.
The reason why people are living here is because of the lifestyle that we're offering.
85 million, 10 million, 16 million.
These people are the 1% of the 1%.
7, 6, 4, 3, 1, 0. To make a world.
They manipulate the cities to the disadvantage of everyone else in the cities.
The Democrats in the Watergate building.
Partly because of Nixon's insecurity.
I was like 12, and it kind of just clicked in my head. I was like, wait a minute. You can make money doing this. They have this thing where it just gives you a random gamer tag, and I was just like, Mr. Beast, this sounds cool.
Bill Clinton plays the saxophone. Music is a way to reach young people.
This video cost me, I think, $250 to produce, and it ended up producing 20,000.
Yes, we can. We are in the middle of the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression.
Short-term rentals are a $100 billion market that have reshaped global tourism, accelerated a nationwide housing crisis, and created fortunes for early adopters.
Quit my job and start a faceless channel. But I'm going to need a niche, right? Which are the best paying niches?
For me, it's sports, celebrity content, crime-related content, and essentially everything that American people watch.
For the next level of aerial supremacy, Top Gun.
It covered a massive amount of debt that Airbnb hasn't paid. On the books that they're hiding. Tens of millions, hundreds of millions, possibly even $1 billion plus of debt that they have not paid.
It was insane at the time. Just, I make a video and I get $5 grand. 4, 5. I'm like, no, I want 10,000. I just want to walk out my front door and go give it to a homeless person.
Obama gathers enthusiastic young helpers together who are able to master the latest media technology. Obama's website is the centerpiece of his campaign.
Short-term rentals also made long-term rentals more expensive.
I spent the month of October 2022 in California. I drove up and down this state to capture how this place has changed. I saw devastating homelessness.
And I saw the views, and I basically realized that there are lots of buildings that are as tall or even taller than the Empire State Building.
If you opt out of public campaign funding, your expenditures are not limited by law.
And kind of like create this cycle. That's when I was like, I want to use brands to allow me to help people. I was like, I think I just cracked the code.
It's never been more
Hotels provide a lot of amenities like housekeeping, room service, restaurants, concierge desks, meeting rooms, gyms, spas, pools, valet parking, and 24-hour security.
You simply inevitably have a highly disproportionate share of the money coming from a very thin stratum of very rich people.
Fascinating sports films.
Felt like a home away from home because in many cases, it was just someone's home. Airbnbs were also much cheaper. Airbnb still spends billions every year promoting this aspect of their service.
I was doing Airbnb in my apartment in the Upper West Side.
Asked me, what are you doing in New York? And when he said he's a real estate agent, I was actually a bit hesitant to tell him what I came here for.
A presidential campaign in this country today is $1 billion operation.
Hosts were investors who need to accept that all investing carries risk. Most of them still own a home or multiple homes that they can now lease out in an overpriced rental market or sell likely for a profit.
Chose 25 buildings, high, ultra luxury towers, the best views you can privately own in New York. Totally bizarre and crazy.
It's definitely exponential. It's not like you go from like 1 million views to like 2 million. It's like 1 million to 10 to 100 million.
If hosts are not playing by the rules, this legislation will require platforms to take down those listings.
Other cities have just made short-term rentals illegal without the same licensing as a normal hotel.
I was just thinking, how could I get in those buildings? From the moment on that I started to work on the project, this was pretty much the only thing I could think about. Take a picture of the view.
Owners associations in apartments and suburbs that have them are blocking owners from renting out their homes to short-term stays because residents who live in their homes don't like loud parties.
I met him at 1.5 million subscribers, somewhere in that area, and we finished out 2018 around 13.6 million.
She, at that point, had essentially created her whole persona.
Michelin-starred private restaurant in the building, theater, swimming pool, obviously, would give you a yacht as a present when you buy the apartment.
Does money matter? Yes. If both sides are comparable in the quality of their messaging, the candidate with more money will win.
Fair use guidelines. Following fair use principles is critical to avoiding copyright lawsuits and disputes. It enables you to highlight the most captivating moments from sports matches while remaining legally compliant.
Every single corner of the city are these ultra luxury real estate, which are not accessible. Apartments and buildings are standing 60 to 70% empty.
Let's talk about editing. Editing. Let's talk about editing.
Since 2009, Hillier Smith has edited videos for some of the biggest YouTubers on the planet and helped to generate more than 5 billion views.
Trim the video to eliminate any protected elements, such as logos or music.
Around that time is where I bought my first designer clothes, like shirts that cost $1,000, which is stupid. And I even bought like a nice car back then as well.
We are not building enough housing for everybody who needs a place to live.
A lot of the same finishes and materials used. Some of the floor plans are the exact same.
A lot of that stuff was overrated, so I got rid of it all and realized like that's just not what makes me happy.
Priming for a big race, this jockey got a clock on the head from the horse next door and was still recovering from the blow when the race began.
In the United States, copyright rights are balanced by the fair use concept.
So his horse literally took off on its own. But get this, even without a jockey, this disciplined horse outran everyone else and managed to win the whole thing.
Viewers relish remarkable moments, combining well-curated clips and enhance and attract your audience's attention.
Nuclear weapon detonates 150 feet underwater.
The lawyers are going to look at it and they're going to know that fair use exists, and so they're going to immediately see that this is fair use. And
this nuclear weapon had a whopping yield of 8 kilotons and was part of Operation Hardtack in 1958, where the United States did a series of 35 nuclear tests.
I want to plant 20 million trees.
The internet isn't just all talk. Like, if we really put our minds together and try to make a positive change, like, we can actually do it.
45% of all short-term rental listings in Los Angeles are illegal in one way or another, and that the city could have levied between $56.8 million and $302.2 million in fines in 2022 alone.
You are about to learn one of the biggest secrets in the history of the world.
We'll have the money for this video, thank you. We'll have control of this video. You're using our copyright.
It's a secret that has huge effects for everyone who lives on this planet.
This isn't fair. You're letting the production company, the person who owns the copyright, decide if it's fair use or not. And of course they're biased.
Most people can feel deep down that something isn't quite right with the world economy, but few know what it is.
The White House in Washington, home of the most powerful person in the world, the President of the United States.
They say that money doesn't grow on trees, but the truth is that the modern banking system creates currency far faster than trees can grow.
Every 4 years, there's a new decision who will move in here. American election campaigns have long been a model for the world's democracies.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to announce my intention to seek the Republican nomination for President of the United States.
Before the establishment of the Federal Reserve, there was no need for personal income tax. The Federal Reserve was created in 1913, and that very same year, the Constitution was amended to allow income tax. Do you really think this was just a coincidence?
We are now in an entirely different political world in which the farmer from Georgia seems like a refreshing alternative to those in Washington who are cast as those who engage in artifice and deception.
Currency and debt are like matter and antimatter. When they meet, they annihilate each other.
Those who promise and don't deliver, and those who do indeed lie.
So if we don't go deeper into debt every year, look what happens. The whole thing goes into a deflationary collapse under the weight of those payments.
Ronald Reagan could both talk one-on-one and talk to a camera.
It looks like Jim Carrey's iconic reign in the film industry has sadly come to an end.
And when he did, you had the sense that he was engaging you as an individual. That's a capacity he may have had naturally, but it was certainly honed during his experience as an actor.
Politicians and pundits alike talk about balancing the budget, paying down the debt, and living within our means. They don't understand that that is deflationary. It is impossible to do under our current monetary system without collapsing the whole economy.
If you're afraid of heights, then this is definitely not the sport for you.
Jim Carrey was a household name in the entertainment industry.
This is why any talk of a debt ceiling is not only ridiculous, it's delusional.
Why was there such a concerted effort to fabricate lies and create a smear campaign against Trump?
In addition to traditional advertising, Obama's money is used especially for targeting small groups of voters.
Why was there so much effort put into the major media outlets to promote falsehoods?
So Obama makes his way into the White House. He makes use of all possibilities of his era.
Why did the various federal agencies also climb on board to assist in creating these fabrications?
The basic problem of privately financed election campaigns remains.
In June 2015, Trump again announced his candidacy for president against the Democrat frontrunner Hillary Clinton.
Well, I think that excess money, no matter what campaign it is or who's involved, is not good.
George Washington once wrote to James Madison, "No generation has the right to contract debts greater than can be paid off during the course of its own existence."
His position of being a political outsider, not owing allegiance to the lobbyists, big corporations, and his announcement that he would fund his own campaign without taking major corporate contributions, in order to not owe anyone anything, struck a chord.
The founding fathers of the United States knew the dangers of central banking and fought to free themselves from this very thing.
And everybody is going to try to cheat.
Trump outlined all that he saw wrong with the D.C. swamp, to include the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, American businesses going overseas to avoid high tax rates and operating costs.
The Revolutionary War started out as a tax revolt, but now we must pay tax just to have a monetary system.
Have we moved into a more enlightened age of campaigning? I don't think so.
The promises of bringing corporations and jobs back to the United States resonated with the population.
Having just suffered through the hyperinflation of the continental dollar, which was printed into oblivion to finance the Revolutionary War, they understood the dangers of fiat currency and debt-based monetary systems.
The methods have changed. The goal remains. Many candidates compete, but in the end, only one moves into the White House.
Many blue-collar workers whose livelihoods had been crippled as a result of offshoring their jobs.
So to protect future generations from institutional theft and out-of-control government, they wrote into the Constitution that only gold and silver can be money, for the simple fact that you can't print them.
The last two remaining in the race fight with the gloves off. Voters are wooed and influenced, they are pried, and sometimes manipulated.
And Trump pointed out the high cost and financially devastating impact of the Affordable Care Act upon individuals and businesses.
Former actor Ronald Reagan became famous as a Western hero. He'd been head of the Screen Actors Guild and thus entered politics.
You know, a few months ago, I toured Auschwitz, the Nazi concentration camp, where 1.1 million men, women, and children lost their lives.
For 10 years, he was the governor of California, the largest state of the U.S.
January 6th, you say the country hasn't really learned from it. How do you, I mean, you're a leader, you were governor of a very big state. How do you reach those people?
But I've seen enough people throw away their futures for hateful beliefs.
Trump also campaigned on rebuilding the military.
But besides the guilt and the injuries, they felt like losers. Not only because they lost the war, but also because they fell for a horrible loser ideology.
Stopping taxpayer funding for programs that harmed the economy.
And that's why there has never been a successful movement based on hate.
Ending the war on terror.
I mean, think about that. The Nazis, losers. The Confederacy, losers. The apartheid movement, losers. And the list goes on and on.
Securing the southern border.
Currently,
Millions.
almost 100 million people saw it, and there's billions of impressions, so it's really fantastic.
Enforcing immigration laws.
But I know there's the danger that we go in that direction.
Rebuilding the military structure in total.
I think you'd agree that a lot of the stuff I captured is troubling if this is indeed our country's future. Here's an unedited view of some of the footage I captured on the trip.
And you compared the storming of the Capitol to Kristallnacht in Germany and in Austria in 1938, when Nazis burned synagogues, Jewish businesses and homes.
Protecting coal, oil, and natural gas jobs. And that saw him become the frontrunner in March 2016.
I want to believe the election was stolen because Trump is their man.
Our current system is not only unconstitutional, but it robs us of the liberty and prosperity our forefathers fought and died for.
It's easier to make excuses that the Jewish people conspired to hold you back than it is to admit that you just needed to work harder.
Jim hinted that the truth behind these rumors might be darker and more chilling than anyone had dared to imagine.
And we need to be clear, shamelessness is not and will never be a superpower.
What would happen if the public stopped borrowing and going deeper into debt? Are your house and car payments going to stop? No. There is a payment due every month on the principal plus the interest on every dollar in existence, and those payments do not stop.
It's easier to hate than it is to learn. It's easier when someone challenges you to get hurty feelings and to go and find some echo chamber that will tell you that you're right and they're wrong.
And the higher-ups wield an unassailable power to ruthlessly tarnish the reputation of anyone who dares to challenge their authority.
Stan Lee himself appears in a bright yellow sweater, smiling and complimenting his own work.
All right, I have this comic strip here.
Wow. Oh, this brings back memories. John Romita drew it. He's wonderful.
To quote the Fed Reserve, the decrease in purchasing power incurred by the holders of money due to inflation imparts gains to the issuers of money.
But remember, easier isn't better. It isn't.
I just stopped going to classes.
He was already capable of taking care of himself.
When you spend your life looking for scapegoats, you take away your own responsibility. You remove your own power. You steal your own strength.
What's even more suspicious is that Kerry quit showbiz right after he had called out the Hollywood masses as spineless.
But only after the 4 perjured submissions to the FISA court came to light and he admitted that he could not verify the data.
This is a fraud. It is a pyramid scheme, it is a Ponzi scheme, it's a scam, and it's a lie. Our entire monetary system is nothing but a form of legalized theft.
A declassified FBI document showing the Bureau misled the FISA court 4 times, committing 4 felonies, and Comey also lied to the Senate Intelligence Committee in 2018.
Jim had boldly criticized the industry for giving Will Smith a standing ovation when it was announced at the Oscars that he won Best Actor for King Richard.
I mean, let's just go and get along. And love is more powerful than hate.
Smith's Oscar victory occurred several minutes after he slapped Chris Rock while the comedian was presenting the documentary feature category.
A reasonable, smart, intelligent person that can lead this country in a Republican way.
You think there's no way he would win again?
No.